The Empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
From the water table to our soils to the atmosphere itself, our world is becoming more and more toxic each and every day. But it's not just the air outside that's toxic. Indoor air has been shown to have 2 to 5 times higher concentrations of pollutants than even outdoor air. And most Americans spend 90% of their time inside using toxic chemicals within their homes. There are more than 42 million smokers in the United States. Well over 1,000 types of mold and mildew linked to numerous conditions. And don't forget the fact that 6 million Americans live with pets they're allergic to as well. When I began to research these statistics, it was clear to me it was time to start cleansing my lungs in order to combat the toxic environment that we cannot escape, but that we can fight back against. Made with organic and wild cultivated herbs and manufactured in the USA, the new InfoWars Life Lung Cleanse is here in a convenient spray bottle that can be brought with you throughout any toxic environment. Now available exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. I began to get into iodine a few years ago because it was helping me and my family so much get healthy and detoxify. Most people know that iodine deficiency has been a crisis around the world. Iodine is key to so many of the body's functions, especially the thyroid. I discovered a product being developed by Dr. Group. You now know it as Survival Shield True Nascent Iodine that your body can really absorb. Then, about a year ago, he said, listen, if you think this is powerful, I'm going to come out with rare earth, deep earth crystals. And the results that I personally have had have been life-changing. Nobody else has got iodine based on these pure crystals, ladies and gentlemen. This is innovating, and the best part is it helps fund Infowars.com, the radio show, the TV show, the whole media operation promoting true libertarian ideas. For a limited time, experience the ancient power of Survival Shield X2. Take advantage of this unprecedented 30% off super detox special at InfoWarsLife.com.
General, what do you think about the FBI saying that there's a terror alert on Monday about a potential Fort Hood situation?
The police are shoving people, shoving Alex, shoving the crowd.
Here we go, folks. I'm being assaulted.
Whether it's the radio show, the news websites, documentary films, or the nightly news, InfoWars is the tip of the spear.
Is this another false flag stage attack to take our civil liberties and put more homeland security by sticking their hands down on the pants on the streets?
It's up to us to set brush fires in the minds of men and women everywhere. And that's what PrisonPlanet.tv is designed to do.
You watch, the Assad regime is going to be blamed or accused of using chemical weapons against the so-called rebels.
What we see now is a war against reality. It's a war against the truth.
It's more vital than ever that supporters of freedom become members of PrisonPlanet.tv and share their membership with up to 11 friends and family. Visit InfoWarsNews.com today. Become a member, share your membership, and help take the InfoWar to the next level.
There's a need for a new world order, but it has different characteristics in different parts of the world.
Live from Austin, Texas, broadcasting worldwide, it's Alex Jones.
About 10 more minutes with Ray McGovern, then we're going right to your phone calls. John, Chris, Will, Chris, Habu, and others that are patiently holding. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231. I get excited about geopolitical movements. I get excited about our own government and foreign governments allowing Al-Qaeda, now named IS, to be armed and to take over areas of Syria. I get upset about that. Average folks get upset about baseball or football and yell and scream. That's supposedly normal. Sure, I like a good ball game as much as the next guy. But I get upset and get emotional. I intellectually look at the facts. But then I do emotionally get upset on air. It's real. Because I'm passionately trying to get you to become passionate about what's happening out there so we don't become radioactive. The old saying is get active or get radioactive. And the Russian government, the communist government, did a lot of wicked, horrible things. I'm a fan of Alexander Solzhenitsyn. I'm an anti-communist, folks. Everybody knows that. I'm a free market capitalist. I know it's the best system in the world. It's not perfect because you get oligarchical corruption in it. But you look at Russia today, this is causing them to become more authoritarian just to hold it together, which is sad because I want Russia to become more free. I want prosperity. I know Ray McGovern wants that. And it's so immoral to watch our government and our elites doing this, but they're not even doing it from cold-blooded positions of evil. I mean, they are in many respects. They are doing it from just a self-destructive spirit that really concerns me when I look at it. It's like it's a big joke to them. And I really, in my bones, have a lot of genuine anxiety right now. And Ray McGovern briefed Ronald Reagan and George Herbert Walker Bush. He was their top briefer. I know he's all about being calm and breaking things down. But Ray, in your gut, and being with the CIA almost 40 years and, you know, all the rest of it, talking to other analysts, knowing General Dempsey stopped the takeover of Syria for al-Qaeda, now that turned back around and run into Iraq. It's almost like the devil came up with this Machiavellian strategy, because I can see the destabilization strategy, but it's so destructive. And then Kissinger saying out of this swirling black hole that we'll have a Pax Americana, while this same elite has deindustrialized us and done everything they can to shut us down. It just seems like bad will. It seems like existential envy by a ruling class against anything and everything. I know I'm pontificating here, but on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say the danger of this new Cold War leading to a regional war or even a nuclear war is? Because when you've got Putin and others saying, hey, we have nuclear weapons, it's such a sinking feeling is my point.
Well, judging from the president's attitude yesterday, where he made it very clear we're not going to get involved in a military conflict with Russia, this cutting 180 degrees away from what a lot of his advisors are doing and saying, you can see a kind of a Hamlet-type calculation on Obama's part. I don't know how it's going to come out. What we'll know more is after the NATO summit on the 5th of September, we'll know if there's a degree of realism with the Germans, for example, who up until now have been led down the garden path by the U.S., the French as well, major countries with one exception, and that was they wouldn't go along with a war of aggression against Iraq. The question really is whether the Germans and the French are led by leaders now that have the courage to stand up and say, look, you know, we know what a war of aggression is. We're not going to perpetrate one by ourselves. Now, the other thing is, I'd just like to pick up on Henry Kissinger. My father was a lawyer, and he used to talk about the age of statutory senility. Now, Henry Kissinger reached the age of statutory senility about at least a decade ago. And so he doesn't make a lot of sense, except every now and then when he's asked a specific question. They asked him 1 month ago, are the Russians right in feeling threatened by NATO coming into Ukraine? And he said, of course they are. That's crazy. Who else said that? Zbig Brzezinski. No coddler of the Russians, he, okay? So these realpolitik guys are smart enough to realize what a dumb move this will be if NATO doesn't rescind its decision 6 years ago to incorporate Ukraine as a member. So those are important things. Now, the other things, Alex, are, you know, why do they do this? Why are they doing this, you know? Well, some of the political scientists, some whom I admire, John Mearsheimer from the University of Chicago, for example, talks about liberalism run amok, you know? We're the sole indispensable country in the world. That, by definition, means all other countries are dispensable, and we're going to show them how to put democracy in places like Russia. You know, that may be some of it, but I think most of it is money. I think most of it is what General Eisenhower, President Eisenhower warned against, the military-industrial. Now we have the military-industrial, congressional, media, security state complex, much more dangerous, okay? So how do I look at it? Well, Larry Wilkerson, who worked for Colin Powell as his chief of staff, was on the television yesterday. And what he said was this: look, we at the end of the Berlin Wall caving, we said, let's invite the Russians into NATO. If you're going to keep NATO, let's invite them in. And they were rebuffed, okay? They were rebuffed. Why? Because Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, wanted to sell a whole bunch of arms to Poland and other countries. And for them to buy the arms, they had to have a big threat, right? And so there's the ready-made threat, Russia. More recently, I want to just read you one paragraph of this news report. The Ukraine, this is Bloomberg, okay? The Ukraine troubles are leading Western governments to renew the role of the weapon that dominated the Cold War, the battle tank. The cost and warfighting benefits of developing a common armored vehicle for the whole region could spur consolidation beyond the pending merger of Germany's Haus Maffei Wegmann GmbH and France's Nextel Systems SA. The CEO of Maffei says. So you have a common battle tank now, which was sort of dead in the water because there was nobody to use the tank again. Yeah, now we have the tank. Now we can get the tank built. Now we can make lots of money. So, you know, in the old days, I used to think explaining everything by, you know, cui bono, who's going to make all the money, that was a little simplistic. I still think that not everything can be explained by that. But if you look at what happens, if you look at who profits from this kind of tension and who, you know, who's going to make all the money, it's the 1%, Alex. It's not the rest of us. So,
but if there's a nuclear war, they're not going to have anywhere to spend this money.
Yeah, I think we're a couple steps away from that now, partly because Putin is smart enough to not perpetrate that, and Obama, I think, knows a little bit more than we give him credit for. But what I'd like to finish up saying is that last year at this time, okay, there were two really important things that happened. Not only were they trying to get a war going against Syria, but the congressmen and senators were home. They were in their districts. And the American people got up and said, no more war, okay? The British Parliament, for the first time in modern history, turned the prime minister down and said, no, we're not going to vote for war in Syria.
First time in hundreds of years.
That's what's got to happen.
Yeah, first time in hundreds of years. That's a great point. So you think Obama's statement yesterday signals maybe a de-escalation? Why would Putin come out today and say, hey, we'll defend ourselves, we have nuclear weapons, watch it? Do you think that that is to basically escalate it in the news to the level of understanding in the public to force a debate about the stakes here?
Yes, Putin is painfully aware that NATO is meeting at the summit level in Wales on the 4th and 5th of September. He just wants to remind all these folks, including that Dane, who's the Secretary General, and sort of froths at the mouth and says, yeah, we're going to place units real close to the to the Russian border. And we're also going to modernize the Ukrainian military. Now, there's a lot of money in modernizing. So he's just laying down a marker and saying, look, in case you hadn't thought about it, folks, we're not a weak country like we were 25 years ago. And, of course, we have the continuing nuclear deterrent. So that's how I read that.
You're getting back to what really concerns me, because I've been a student of politics, always found it very interesting, geopolitics, military affairs. People were always corrupt and had problems. There were good guys, bad guys, but people were more serious. Now, when I see the mannerisms and the meetings, and Hillary saying, we came to Libya, we saw he died. Obama, I'm good at killing people. Pearl hits on girls at cocktail parties saying, I kill a lot of people. I see these statements and weirdness and swaggering that you see in people that have never really physically been involved in violence themselves, who think it's tough, who think it's sexy, who think they're like General Zod in a Superman movie. This is the real world, our only planet. This is not a game, and that's what keeps me up at night now is, like you mentioned, the Secretary General and people. Some of these folks are frothing at the mouth with just incendiary stuff at Russia. And then Russia, like you said a few weeks ago, was like,